Young Sheldon is full of betrayals. From George forcing his 9-year-old to keep a financial secret from his own mother, to Georgie lying about his age to sleep with a 29-year-old woman, to Mary hiding letters that could have changed Sheldon's entire future. I'm going over every betrayal in Young Sheldon, starting with one of the most messed up. But here's the thing most people miss about this show. The betrayals don't just happen and disappear. They stack. One lie creates 3 more. One secret breaks 5 relationships. And by season 7, the damage is so deep that some of it never gets resolved because someone dies before it can. So if you think you know every betrayal in this show, I promise you, you're forgetting at least 3. And the last one on this list completely reframes something Big Bang Theory fans believed for years. Let's start in season 2, episode 4. George comes to Sheldon with a problem. There's a missing $300 check, and the truth behind it is ugly. George used that money to bail Mima out of jail after a DWI arrest, and Georgie was involved because he'd been driving without a license. The whole thing is a disaster, and George does not want Mary to find out. So what does he do? He asks his child to keep a secret. Now think about who he's asking. This is Sheldon Cooper, a kid with an IQ of 187 who literally cannot handle moral ambiguity. George is basically handing a grenade to a 9-year-old and saying, just hold this for a while. And predictably, Sheldon cracks. He confesses under stress during a sleepover, and then he tells George to his face that he's irresponsible and is no longer his role model. That's heavy for a sitcom. A kid looking at his dad and saying, I don't look up to you anymore because you made me a liar. But what makes it worse is that this isn't the last time a parent turns Sheldon into a secret keeper, because a season later, Mary does something arguably worse. In season 3, episode 21, Sheldon finds a hidden letter from Caltech, and when he confronts Mary, she admits she didn't just hide one letter. She hid a Caltech letter, plus letters from schools in New Jersey and Germany. 3 separate opportunities for Sheldon's future, and Mary just decided on her own that Los Angeles wasn't an option. She didn't ask Sheldon, she didn't ask George, she just made the call for everyone. And George's reaction tells you everything. He doesn't defend her. He calls Mary selfish, and he sleeps on the sofa that night. Because this isn't just about Sheldon's feelings being hurt. George didn't know about the letters either. Mary kept them from both of them, her husband and her son, the 2 people most directly affected. Now in the same episode, Dale fires Georgie from the sporting goods store, and Mima responds by breaking up with Dale and helping Georgie egg Dale's store. That's vandalism in retaliation for a firing, and it sets up a pattern with Mima that we're going to come back to because she keeps escalating all the way into season 7. But the bigger thread here is what Mary's hidden letters tell us about the Cooper household. If Mary is willing to hide Sheldon's future from him to keep him close, what else is she willing to hide? And what is George hiding from her? Because both of these parents are keeping secrets, and the next person who gets caught in a lie makes both of them look like amateurs. Georgie Cooper Jr. pulls off the single most direct betrayal in the entire show, and it's not complicated. He lies about his age. When Georgie meets Mandy at Mima's laundromat, he tells her he's 21. Mandy tells him she's 25. Now here's the important detail. Mandy actually comes clean first. She admits she's really 29. She feels guilty about lying and just tells the truth, but Georgie keeps his mouth shut. They sleep together. And then, in season 5, episode 17, Georgie finally admits he's 17 years old. Mandy's reaction is exactly what you'd expect. She calls him a liar and tells him to get out. And honestly, she's being generous, because this is a 17-year-old who let Mandy believe he was 21. The whole power dynamic is completely flipped from what Mandy thought it was. She thought she was with a grown man making his own decisions. She wasn't even close. But the betrayal doesn't stop with the lie itself. One episode later, in season 5, episode 18, Mandy tells Georgie she's pregnant, and when Georgie has the nerve to ask whether the baby is even his, Mandy shuts the door in his face. So now you've got a 17-year-old who lied about his age, a 29-year-old who's pregnant, and a family that is about to try very hard to keep all of it quiet. In season 5, episode 19, George and Mary learn the full picture, and immediately, they start lying too. Mary and Mima tell the twins that nothing is wrong. Missy and Sheldon start guessing what the family crisis is, and at one point, they think maybe Mary is pregnant. Nobody corrects them. Nobody tells the truth. The cover-up just grows. Then episode 20 happens, and the whole thing collapses. The family sits down and promises to keep Georgie's situation private. George, Mary, Sheldon, and Missy all break the secrecy pact almost immediately. Sheldon tells Dr. Linkletter. Missy claims she told someone named Heather M. George tells Wayne. And Mary tells Pastor Rob, even though the family specifically agreed to keep it quiet, which is a huge problem for a reason we'll get to in a second. Because telling Pastor Rob doesn't just break the secrecy pact, it makes George jealous. And that jealousy opens a door that almost ends their marriage. But first, the church. Once the pregnancy news spreads, the congregation at First Baptist Church of Medford turns on the Coopers, and not quietly. In season 5, episode Episode 21. People gossip openly about Georgie. Missy gets taunted at school until she punches a boy, and Pastor Jeff, Mary's own pastor, the man who is supposed to guide and support her, tells her she needs to take a leave of absence from the church. He doesn't suggest it, he tells her, "You need to understand what the church means to Mary Cooper. It's not just where she goes on Sundays, it's her identity, her social circle, her moral framework, her sense of who she is. And when Georgie's secret goes public, the church doesn't protect her. It punishes her." In Season 6, Episode 1, a woman at church literally refuses to hold Mary's hand during the service, and Mary tells Pastor Jeff that it feels like the Lord is walking away from her. That line is brutal, because the church didn't betray Mary for something she did. They punished her for something her teenage son did. She's bearing the consequences of Georgie's lie, and the church doesn't even know the full picture of what's happening inside her family. Because while they're busy judging the Coopers for the pregnancy scandal, something much bigger and much uglier is developing inside the Cooper marriage, and nobody in that church or that family actually knows the full truth. This is the part most people argue about online, and I need to be careful here because the show itself is very careful about it. George Cooper does not have a confirmed physical affair with Brenda Sparks in young Sheldon. That is a fact. His wiki page literally lists Brenda as a flirtation, but what does happen is messy enough that it barely matters whether it's technically an affair or not. It actually starts in the Season 4 finale, when the flirtation between George and Brenda first takes shape. That carries into Season 5, Episode 1, where they're at a bar together when George has a medical emergency. After that night, both of them pretend they don't remember much. Brenda cancels dinner with the Coopers, and in Episode 2, George and Brenda meet in the chicken coop behind Brenda's house and have a very honest conversation. They both acknowledge that people could think something is going on between them. They agree to stop being seen together in public. That's not something innocent people usually need to negotiate. On Mary's side, she's been getting closer to Pastor Rob, close enough that she tells him about Georgie's pregnancy outside the family, even though everyone agreed to keep it quiet. Close enough that when Rob visits the Cooper house in Season 5, Episode 21, George straight up accuses Mary of cheating with the youth pastor, and this is where the two suspicion tracks collide. In Season 6, Episode 14, Mandy goes into labor. All the adults rush to the hospital. Mary shows up with Pastor Rob. George is already there with Brenda. Mary sees George talking to Brenda and feels sick. George sees Mary with Rob and feels the same thing. They argue in the hospital hallway, each one accusing the other, while a baby is literally being born down the hall. Later, in Season 6, Episode 15, Mary tells George nothing happened with Pastor Rob, and when she asks George whether he enjoys Brenda's company, George can't give her a clean no. He pauses and basically says he doesn't know, and Brenda, who is also in this mess, tells Mary not to throw stones, considering Mary's own connection to Pastor Rob. Meanwhile, in Season 6, Episode 6, the show drops in a parallel story that hits like a mirror. Wayne Wilkins finds out his wife Darlene cheated with his best friend and is pregnant with a child that isn't his. That's a clean, undeniable adultery plot sitting right next to the George and Mary storyline, where nothing is clean and nothing is confirmed. The show is basically asking you to compare the two. One couple where cheating is proven, one couple where it's just suspicion eating them alive. And while George and Mary are tearing each other apart over what might or might not have happened, while they're spending episodes avoiding each other and sleeping in separate rooms, they are both completely missing something happening right in their own house. Their daughter is falling apart, and nobody is paying attention. If you want to know the most devastating betrayal in young Sheldon, it's not a lie. It's not cheating, it's not a secret, it's neglect. In Season 4, Episode 18, Missy's boyfriend Marcus cheats on her with another girl at the roller rink, and when she's heartbroken, the family doesn't rally around her. Instead, Sheldon barges past a "do not enter" sign on her door, insults her, and compares IQ scores until Missy tears apart his Professor Proton picture. She tells the whole family that everyone always takes Sheldon's side, and then she runs away. That's Season 4. By Season 6, it's exponentially worse. In Episode 14, every adult in the Cooper family is at the hospital for Cece's birth, and Missy and Billy Sparks are just left at school. Nobody picks them up, nobody calls, nobody tells Missy there's a new baby in the family until after it already happened. In Episode 15, Missy leaves a note in her lunch that basically says, "Try not to forget your daughter." She tells Mandy her parents forgot her at school, and then she says something that reframes the entire series. She says she has been overlooked all her life. Not just this week, not just during the pregnancy chaos, her entire life. In a house where every crisis centers on Sheldon's brain, Georgie's mistakes, or George and Mary's marriage, Missy just gets skipped, and in Episode 16, she snaps. She steals George's truck, calls Paige, and runs away. The cops find out she's 13, that the truck is stolen, and that she skipped out on a breakfast check. Adult Sheldon narrates that this is the beginning of Missy Missy's difficult period, which is a really cold way to describe a 13-year-old girl who stole a truck because her family forgot she was alive. But Missy isn't the only Cooper kid who gets used by the people who are supposed to protect them, because while Missy is being forgotten at home, Sheldon is being exploited at school. In season 6, Sheldon develops a grant database idea for East Texas Tech, and almost immediately, the adults at the university start circling. President Hagemeyer proposes a contract giving the university 90% and Sheldon 10%. Dr. Linkletter asks for a cut of the profits, and Sheldon, for all his genius, is a child. He tells them that people want him on their side, but they're using him without caring about what's best for him. Then, in episode 11, he discovers the university is building the database without him entirely. They just took his concept and ran. The database eventually launches and fails, but the betrayal is already done. The people who were supposed to be nurturing his education tried to profit from it. And Sheldon wasn't the only one who accused a mentor of intellectual theft. Back in season 3, episode 17, he publicly accused Dr. Sturgis of plagiarism, his own mentor, the man who opened the door to college for him. It took Ms. Hutchins stepping in to show Sheldon he was wrong, which makes Sheldon both a victim and a perpetrator of academic betrayal, sometimes in the same year. Now, Mima. Nobody in this show has a longer criminal resume of family loyalty gone wrong. She's at the center of the DWI arrest that George has to secretly bail her out of. She eggs Dale's store. She and Georgie smuggle 400 cartons of undeclared cigarettes across the Mexican border and get arrested. She blackmails Pastor Jeff with rental records during a video store conflict. She runs an illegal gambling room that Mandy discovers that Georgie brings baby Cece into so gamblers can touch her head for luck, and that eventually gets raided by police in season 7. Every single thing Mima does, she does for family, and every single thing creates consequences that get worse. By season 7, she's on house arrest with a probation officer, and Sheldon is studying law to try to act as her lawyer. And then there's George's final secret. In season 7, episode 11, George gets a vasectomy behind Mary's back because he's worried she wants another baby. He doesn't discuss it, he doesn't ask, he just does it and says nothing. One episode later, George dies of a heart attack, and everything stops. Every unresolved suspicion about Brenda, every argument about Pastor Rob, every secret he kept, and every secret kept from him, all of it just ends. No resolution, no final conversation, no closure. The Coopers don't get a chance to fix anything because George is gone. But here's where it gets truly wild. For years, Big Bang Theory fans believed George cheated on Mary because of one very specific scene. In TBBT's The Hot Tub Contamination, Sheldon explains his famous 3-knock ritual. He says he walked in on his father with another woman, and from that day forward, he knocked 3 times before entering any room. Fans took that as gospel. George was a cheater. End of story. But young Sheldon, season 7, episode 4, reveals the truth. The woman wasn't Brenda. It wasn't some stranger. It was Mary. She was role-playing as a German girl named Helga. Sheldon, as a child, misread what he saw. He carried that false memory into adulthood, told Penny the story, and in effect, the show let Sheldon's misunderstanding shape how fans saw George for years. A man who couldn't defend himself anymore, defined by something that never actually happened. So the biggest betrayal in this entire universe isn't George lying to Mary. It isn't Georgie lying to Mandy. It isn't the church or the university or Mima's gambling room. It's a child's misunderstanding, never corrected, becoming the truth everyone accepted. If you liked this video, you need to see this one next. Click it now.